Good morning, everybody. It's the start of day one. Just had night one. It's 6:30 in the morning. It's about 48 degrees, so a little chilly. Uh, I'm used to the mid to high 70s and 80s and 90s, so it's a little chilly from what I've been used to over the last month. Um, it was a restless night. Um, Riley was a little on the restless side. She had a hard time last night. She was up and down, but hopefully she's a little bit more calm going into the day. I don't know what kept her up last night. I don't know if she was cold or if she just heard stuff outside. I don't know. But so today will definitely be a rest day and getting stuff together. Um, yeah, I was thinking about the law in uh, the Old Testament when you start looking at the law in, say, Deuteronomy and Numbers, and a lot of people like to look at God as just a God with a bunch of rules. But really, when you start to break down the time, when you start to break down the when, what was going on at the time, the culture, you start to really look at those laws were mostly just common sense. Uh, if you touch a body, you're unclean, so you know, live outside the community for a few days. Well, what'd the body die from? Did they die from disease? Did they die from something contagious? And if you're messing with a dead body, did you catch that contagion? Well, um, every most things in Scripture say 7 days. Well, we know that most uh, most viruses, not all, but most of them will present themselves if you've caught that contagion within 7 days. So God's really saying, quarantine yourself, man. Don't infect everybody else. So it makes sense that we have quarantine periods. It makes sense that we have these um, health laws. The even the laws about crossing dairy and meat. Back then, it's not like the meat and the dairy were preserved well. It's not like they were put in the refrigerator and all that. So most of that was to prevent cross contamination and prevent sickness and illness. Now, obviously, things have changed a little bit, and I'm a pig-eating Gentile, which is nice because we know that we're not saved by the law. We're not saved by all of the rules that were set down, but um, the covenant of Christ is essentially it's a new set of laws. It's a new set of rules. It is not to necessarily wipe out the old rules. Still maintain the old rules where they make sense. But we're not saved by those laws. We're not saved by our good deeds. We're not good enough for Christ's love. We're not good enough for Christ's mercy, and yet we have it. But we need to realize that there are things going on in the world that require a little bit of common sense. Guess what? If you're sick with a fever, stay home. If you aren't feeling well and you might have the crud, well, don't infect everybody else with it. You know, we don't know how this virus started. Corona's been around for a long time. This particular strand of corona is a little bit more interesting because of the 2 week period that you can essentially be contagious without knowing it, but you're not really all that contagious until you show symptoms. So